Hey everybody, Viktor here, and for today I have a Cusco into Inca guide, so let's go ahead and jump straight into the guide proper without any further ado. And of course, since it's one of my guides, the first thing we're going to be talking about is, of course, the estates and privileges. Now, the privileges are all the same that you've seen in stock standard. You have the monarch generators, loyalty, and prestige. However, you will always have 4.999% crown land no matter what you do. I've tried every possible arrangement, from seizing first to seizing last, to seizing in between me granting these privileges, and it doesn't matter. You will always have 4.999%. However, the good news is while normally these penalties don't apply or really matter to you early game, they really don't matter for you as Cusco. You see, the lack of taxed income, you have gold, and that's enough to pay your bills at the start, so don't really care. Absolutism isn't actually a mechanic yet, so again, doesn't matter. Liberty desire from subjects, you're not going to have any. You're not going subjects until much later, so that one doesn't matter. The only one that might actually matter to you is autonomy. And having increased autonomy growth actually benefits you here. So it's a good thing to have this, but not for too long. Now I'll get to why autonomy is a good thing a little bit later in the guide, but I just wanted to point out now you don't need to worry about having this for too long because it could actually translate into good news for you. With all that being said, we are now done talking about the estates and privileges. Now let's talk about your military. You see, your first mission that you're going to complete is prepare for war, which requires you to have 1 to 3 months worth of manpower growth and then a total army size of 100% your force limit. How you get that is just simply hiring the free company, and as you can see here, you'll meet the force limit and it's not costing you any manpower. As soon as they're hired and a month ticks by, this should be completed and it will give you claims over this entire area. So you can then attack these people. Obviously, you're going with Wonka first. With that, your military is set up because you have no navy and there's nothing else really to do, save for, when you're ready, assigning your ruler general to the army. And with that being done, your military is now set up. Both your diplomacy and your rival situation at the start of the game is pretty straightforward. You see, you're going to end up rivaling the two people that you can actually rival at the start, both Cola and Wonka, the two people that you border. They're the only two you actually can, so it's not like you're going to pick somebody else by mistake, but just rival them both. It'll make your life a little bit easier, give you more power projection, as well as an easier claim on Cola, because you're going to get one on Wonka. Now, as far as your allies are concerned, do not get one at the start of the game. You may get one later in order to get somebody to come in on promise of territory to break a large alliance block, but they tend not to form, and given the fact that you have a 4 maneuver general, as well as the free company making it 12,000, I mean, you should be stack wiping just about everybody. So it's not that big of a deal. The only thing you need to do is start spying immediately on Cola here because you need to get a claim down on them. Wonka you're going to take care of just by getting the free company. And with that, you're done with both diplomacy and your rivals. Let's go ahead and move on to the actual game. So let's go ahead and unpause the game and let this start ticking through. Again, I'm just waiting for the manpower to get spit out in terms of the monthly tick, and for the free company to get spit out, so I can end up clicking the prepare for war. This will give me the claims that I need up here, and I'm able to actually go out and attack somebody. You should have the claim start immediately, allowing you to attack these guys, hopefully before they get an alliance anywhere. If you don't, it'll take just another monthly tick. If they happen to get an ally again that's you think is threatening enough, or you want to get somebody to help you out, you can grab, say, Julia up here, to call them in on promise of land. In this case, though, it looks like I got somewhat lucky, and I'm able to just attack them without anybody else getting involved. Now, since I have the 5-shot guy, yeah, they're probably not going to survive this, even in the slightest. Yep, there we go. And that's all you're basically doing. You're going to be walking through and picking people off one by one. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording, because sieging, and then show you the couple of times I'm picking people off, until you're basically covering the north. Because the north here is more important to you than down south, and I'll explain why in a little bit, but I'll see you guys then. And welcome back. I briefly wanted to talk about this event because there's nothing actually that it tells you what's going to happen at the end of it, because this is actually a multi-chain event. Basically, you can click this button, and for 20 years you'll have the 15% manpower penalty, but in exchange, at the end of it, for the rest of the game, you'll have 0.5 prestige yearly, and then 0.5 legitimacy yearly. So if you think that is worth it, you can go ahead and take this. However, it's 1 stability. I'm not going to bother with it. Just wanted to point out what that event does. I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. As you can see, I quickly expanded to the north just a little bit, just a few provinces. But now is the time to talk about authority. You see, in the game, you start off as a quote-unquote primitive nation, meaning that you don't just get to have everything, instead you have to reform your religion to allow yourself to be a modern country. Now, in order to do that, you need to have authority. And authority lets you pass these 5 reforms once you're at 100 authority each, and it will trigger a civil war every time you click the button. Pretty simplistic, but how do you get authority? You get authority in one of 2 different ways. The first way is you get it every year, but it's 0.02 for each development that you have. So as you can see, I have 154 development, meaning that I get 2.1 authority every year. Again, I have to get 500, meaning my authority growth is abysmal. What I can do, however, is also increase it or decrease it by events or by autonomy. The events you'll have pop up where they'll trigger rebels, or you have to throw 60 ducats at it to build a church, and you get authority that way. There are 5 each time. However, you can also get more authority based on your simple local autonomy. If you increase autonomy in any province, it costs you 5 authority. Decreasing it gives you 5 authority. As you can see, I've already fought some separatists in these provinces, so they're not really willing to fight me again. So if I simply drop this for now, I'll have a little bit of time before I actually have to fight anybody again, and as long as I have 25 there, I'll be getting 5 authority each time, pushing this up. The reason why this matters is because you want a colonist as soon as possible, and this will give you morale of armies, just helping you fight off the rebels a little bit easier. But these 2 are the ones you need to get first, for obvious reasons. The sooner you can expand towards the Europeans, the sooner you can reform out of this. But more importantly, the sooner you can prevent them from having the advantage on you. If they take over most of South America before they finally get to you, they might be too large for you to fight very easily. But if you start colonizing and then get towards them, you might actually be able to pick them off when they're only 10 provinces large as a colonial nation. So, get yourself your authority growth, because honestly, the natural growth is not going to be enough, and relying on events, while it can work, is kind of random. So instead of focusing on that, just decrease where you're able to, because you can fight these rebels fairly easily. Especially since by this point, your force limit should be going up significantly more, and all you need to do is make certain you have people in the field, as well as your income should be going up as well. So at this point now, it is time for me to target the guys down here, because I still got plenty of time, and then it's the guy in the north here. There's a reason I saved him for last, and that is because he is allied to Musica. Musica is somebody that you're going to actually vassalize by force, not just simply go up to there and conquer them. The reason why is this will give you range to colonize up here and try and grab the Panama Canal early, just because it'll let you then get up into Mexico, which has even more provinces you can straight conquer before the Europeans get there. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and pause it, because I got some conquering to do and a lot of time to wait, rebels to fight, authority to gain, and I'll bring you guys back once it's time to actually talk about something new. See you guys then. Hey everybody, so I was about to unpause the game and continue forward to the next thing I needed to talk about when I realized I forgot to talk about something, specifically what actually happens when you click the Reform Religion button. You see, whenever you border a tag that has institutions embraced, and you've done all 5 of these reforms, once you click this button, you get 80% of all the tech levels that they have already accomplished, as well as you embrace every institution that you have not already embraced that they have. This is important because you start off at tech level 1 without even feudalism embraced, which means it costs 875 points to embrace any of these techs at the start. Once Renaissance is added to that, it gets even worse. And the way this works now is you only have a cap of 1,500 points that you can save up until you've pushed yourself to Renaissance. It doesn't start adding it over time anymore. So you actually have to spend points to have an increased cap to spend more points. This is a problem for obvious reasons. Well, if you're not dev pushing anymore, you're going to end up catching up, which is still fine. You'll end up going from Tech 2 or 3 to Tech 8 by the time they reach you. The problem is that while you'll still be behind, you'll be able to catch up a little bit with 1,500 points saved up, you're not going to have any ideas embraced at that point. Meaning you're still behind. And on top of that, you've given them however much time it took for them to colonize Brazil, down in Argentina, over in Chile, and then finally reaching you allowing you to reform, giving you much larger targets you're going to have to fight. Instead, I recommend you at least in dev up and dev push feudalism. Now, if you did this in a mountain province, it would obviously be a problem, but fortunately you have 3 colonized grassland provinces within your reach that you can dev push in. It's still expensive because being a quote-unquote primitive nation, it increases it by 50%, but you can try and get around that. But basically, by dev pushing this, you should be able, cheaply enough, to get your first idea group. It's not that far away. And even though it is in Renaissance territory, it's not too far into it. So simply by getting to that point, you'll be able to unlock exploration. Exploration is pretty big because if you can see the Europeans when they're over here in Brazil and small, you have a couple of things you can do. You see, you do not have the advantage of the search for the 7 cities button that automates the conquistadors. You have to manually click because you're a native tribe. But once you hit Diplotech 6, you can steal maps from them and let them explore everything for you. Once you have Musca up here, you're able to integrate them, allowing you to border the Caribbean up here, build 1 ship, send it out. You can then see all of Mexico, Mississippi, Southern America, etc., just from going into the Caribbean and stealing maps. And this will absolutely improve your ability to fight them because you'll be able to see where you're going and not have to fog bust while sieging them down. That is a useful, but be almost necessary because it allows you to start colonizing towards them as quickly as possible so that you can reform and get caught up with them in terms of ideas and technology quicker than simply waiting. But that's the point I wanted to make, so let me go ahead and pause the recording again. I'll bring you guys back once I have Musca taken care of, I've expanded, and it's time to talk about something new. I'll see you guys in just a little bit. Welcome back, everybody. It's almost the 1500s, so it's time to catch you guys up with what I have done so far, so that way you guys can try and replicate it, because doing these things will make your life a little bit easier. As you can see in the south, I push further south than any of the normal Peruvian lands are at the start. That's because Mapuche here ended up migrating from over here all the way up and then bordered me. Once one of these migratory tribes actually borders you directly, so not their tribal land, they have to themselves, you're able to drop a claim on them and fight them and take all their tribal land, including the province that they're actually in. They will then move, like they did right here, allowing them to continue doing this and getting more tribal land that you can take from them later. So feel free to keep getting claims on them until they eventually go off into the fog and go off into the sunset. Now, the nice thing about taking these provinces is because A, that means you don't have to take them off the Europeans, but B, just like any other province, they have autonomy which you can drop to get more authority, which means you're able to pass these reforms very, very quickly. Now, just be aware there will be unrest that's getting caused by this. As you can see down here, I have a very, very unrestful province here. Now, there's nothing you can do about these lands that you've taken, either tribal land or otherwise. However, if you're having problems with unrest in your native Peruvian lands, all the stuff in here, then there is actually a solution. As you can see, I have a rebel stack about to fire with 10.9 unrest. This is because I reduced their autonomy. Well, if I just simply go in here and I form the Inca, all of a sudden, they're gone. Now, they're perfectly chill. They have no problems with me, because forming the Inca resets their unrest. So once you have all the things reduced in the normal Peruvian provinces, you can form the Inca. You don't need to wait. Just click it. It's absolutely worth it to click it just to spare your troops from having to constantly fight. However, if you want to keep your army tradition higher, by all means, stave it off like I just did, because you're going to be fighting a lot of rebels. Also, as you can see up here, I did take Musca as a vassal. I integrated them, which gave me provinces up here, which does a couple of things. First off, it lets me get closer to the Caribbean, because now I can just colonize here and then straight up to the coast, blockading the Europeans out of Colombia. The reason I do this is because they're already going to get Argentina and Brazil, and if they get over here into Colombia, that's one more thing I have to fight through to get to Brazil, and I don't want to have them having too much time in Brazil without me taking their land. Because if they do, they might get large enough where I actually have to do a real fight, and they might actually get the European countries involved if I take too long. So I'm just trying to make certain that they don't have a barrier between me and Brazil. And that's about it. The other reason is because, of course, there are other migratory tribes up here, and you want to be able to take their tribal land too, just like there are more down here. Just keep your eyes open. But that's about all I needed to cover right now, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording again. I'm going to move forward to the time the Europeans arrive, and I will bring you guys back to talk about that. See you guys soon. And welcome back, everybody. So in the 20 years since you guys saw me last, some things have happened that did not happen in the 30 test runs I had as Inca to prepare for this guide. And I wanted to go over what happened because while it does not change the actual overall strategy, it does change how fast you want to be pushing north. So let's go ahead and discuss what happened so you guys can be prepared for this yourselves. So in my test runs, either Portugal or Castile would end up getting the Caribbean colonial region. The other, which in this case it was Portugal, the other one, Castile, would be pushed to Brazil, because this is the next best colonial region that the AI will focus on. Makes sense. Instead of doing that and then focusing on Colombia, they went straight to Colombia. The problem with doing that is if Castile goes to Colombia and gets 5 colonies down, that's all they need, 5 colonies, then they complete a mission which gives them claims over all of the Peruvian or Inca lands at the game start. So they have a lot of claims on me now. Now, usually they will only attack you when they directly border you. They're not going to bother until then, which gives you the option to reform and allows you to keep up with them and make it a fair fight. Here's the thing. This was not one of their colonies. All of these were, but not this one. Meaning I couldn't reform off of them, which is obviously a problem. Knowing that they would get this mission completed and likely attack me, I dropped the colony here. And then I pulled back the settler. I pulled this guy back so that he wasn't proceeding it further as fast as he could. The reason why is I knew Castile would eventually attack me because they were going to have a bunch of claims and they would want my gold mines. So they ended up walking in here to attack me, sieged it down, and seized it. By seizing it, they finished it, which made it into one of their cores, which had colonialism in it, allowing me to reform off of this province. Because usually they'll end up going to Argentina, and down here is where you're going to find somebody, not up here. So if you see Castile over here in Colombia, drop a colony as quickly as you can, if for no other reason to try and reform off of them when they seize it and then finish it for you. Now, the end result of this war is going to be me taking everything they have on the continent. Portugal I can't really get to at this point, and I can always go after them later because I don't have the range to even take these provinces, even if I wanted to. But I am getting stuff in the Caribbean, which, great, I guess. But I'm also canceling all of their claims on me because I want them to knock it off. I can drop the claim, the stuff I'm going to take in the Caribbean if I wanted to, but they're not really winning here because, as I said before in other videos, the AI is really bad at intercontinental warfare. They keep bringing over 10,000 troops at a time because that's how many transports they have, and then trying to naval invade me instead of walking through New Granada. Even if they do walk through New Granada, which they do have armies here, which not their entire force limit, they end up walking straight into me, and I have nothing but defensive terrain up here. And on top of that, they'll think the mountains saved them, but I still have this bonus, meaning it's only a -1 dice roll, and on top of that, I have a 6-shock general. You usually will have high army tradition playing as Inca, especially if you didn't get rid of all the rebels, because you'll be fighting a lot of them. This is one of the benefits of that, so it's up to you if you want to fight rebels to make sure this doesn't happen, but this is why you get the conquistadors, so you can at least see where they are, so you can anticipate what they're about to do to you. Now, the good news is, at this point, you should have enough force limit to actually fight them and keep them away from you. Because even if you look at this, they should be winning this. But again, the AI is really bad at intercontinental warfare. So just take advantage of that whenever they start sending troops over, pin them in a corner, and then use proper reinforcement to take them out. And use a mercenary company to take most of the damage, because you can always just delete them and replace them with another one. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this off and continue fighting them because I want to get to the point where I'm then talking about the Mexico tags up there, and that's really where I'm going to end it off. So I'll see you guys in just a little bit. And welcome back, everybody. So before I get into what's going on in Mexico, which is the final subject of this guide, I wanted to talk about something funny that happened because it was just too funny for me, and I think it's hysterical. Now, if you recall, while I was fighting Castile, I was able to take some provinces that were out in the fog. I thought they were in the Caribbean. They weren't. Instead, they were in Florida. And taking Florida is perfectly valid. It gives you all of this land up here that you can go into, and even after you're done with Mexico over here, it's still perfectly valid to push on into North America, Because if you're going for the achievement and you just focus on South America, you're probably going to get bored before too long. But I didn't want to get that far into this guide, keep going forward into North America, because that would just take forever. So instead I was just going to let it go, because I don't need to be in Florida right now. Well, I abandoned the 2 colonies that weren't completed yet, and then the one that was, which was Miami, I figured I'd just let the rebels take it, because I didn't want to give it back to Castile. And oh, it paid off. You see, for whatever reason, I'm not sure if Paradox thinks all Americans are the same, or they confuse the states, but, well, they decided that the people that live in Miami, those are Californians. So I'm not sure if they're saying, hey, people of Miami, you act like Californians, or if they're saying, hey, people from California, you act like Florida man, but they're saying that, I guess. And I think that's hysterical. Why? Because, well, I'm in Oregon, and yeah, California, you're taking the brunt of this. So have fun with that information. Now let's go ahead and talk about Mexico. Now, as you can see, I took these 2 provinces here. The reason why is because of your sheer size, all you need to do is border these guys. Once they can see you, they'll be willing to ally you, and then after that, they'll be willing to diplo-vassalize by you, allowing you to expand through Mexico pretty quickly once they can see you, because even people up here might be willing to, as long as they don't have subjects of their own. And that's far more rare up here, but you can at least get them and then use whatever claims they may have to attack other people up here. So just look around, see if you can find anybody, because why pay aggressive expansion if you don't have to, and take advantage of it, because most all the Mayans, they're willing to, because they're not having subjects, because they don't have the Flower War CB. But with that, you guys should be more than capable of keeping pushing on, taking over Mexico, taking over North America. Let the other colonies here get a little bit of territory behind them before you go and go after them. Because right now, yeah, you can go ahead and take Brazil. If you rush over here and take Brazil, wouldn't really be a problem. But that's more land that you have to sit and wait for your own colonists to be done with. So instead of focusing on that, let them go ahead and build up, because they're not going to have a huge force limit anyway. And you can usually rapid siege them down. And then even if Portugal does get involved, you're able to fight Portugal and Spain at this point. So you don't have to worry about anything. But with that, you guys should be good to go. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'll definitely be making more of it. If you want to see a particular country or mechanic covered, leave me a comment below, because I'm definitely looking for more content to make, and I'll cover just about anything that you guys want me to. But with all that being said, thank you all for watching. Have fun in Miami, you Californians. Have a great day.